So how do you do this? Well, here I've got a list and I'm working my way down it. And let's say I want to do the term delineate. It's a verb to describe or illustrate with exact detail or specifications. I delineated what I wanted for Christmas by giving my parents a list full of items with prices, where to buy them, how long they took to ship, and the full item name. So that's a good exact detail description. There are two more examples that I could read to get more of an idea here. And then I could say, got it. We'll move on to the practice section and check that out. These items are tricky because some of them might be examples. An example uses the term correctly in a good real-world context, including people, places, and situations. Some of them might be non-examples. That's an incorrect usage of the term, or maybe an example of another term. Some of them might be the definition. You don't want a definition because that gives no real-world context, or it's just an explanation of the concept. It's not an example. And some of them are actually garbage. Nonsense, misspellings, bad grammar. Students write these, so feel free to vote garbage on anything that looks bad, like misspellings, bad grammar, and nonsense. So let's work our way through this deck. What do? So I'm going to use the arrow keys. So my fingers are going to be on the arrow keys here because I'm on the computer, but if you're on a mobile device, you can just swipe these cards. The scientific paper delineates the steps to be taken on how to slow the effects of global warming. I think that's a good use of this term, explaining out detail. We're going to press the right arrow key because it's an example. And there it flew off that way, and I can see that I'm correct. I can reread it if I want, but I don't need to. When Julia adopted her puppy, the SPCA delineated what to expect, including vet visits, teething, a lot of walks, etc. So that also seems like a good in-depth explanation that lists things. So that's an example. Delineate is your favorite word for when you can't think of one. This is an intentionally written bad grammar thing. It's meant so that students will swipe down on anything that is written like this. You will get a correct if you swipe this down. I delineated what I wanted for Christmas by giving my parents a list full of items with prices, where to buy them, how long they took to ship, and the full item name. So this is from the page before this. This is the main one of the examples, the stock examples. So yeah, it's an example. My mom delineated my chores for the day by giving me 3 pages of what I was supposed to do and how I was supposed to do it. That also seems like an example. We got a lot of examples here right off the bat. I sat in class frustrated and stumped after the professor delineated the lesson. Probably a non-example. I was correct. The teacher delineated what was going to be on the next test by giving students a study guide that was exactly like the test. That sounds like a good example. Yes. The cooks delineate the cake recipe. The steps were complex and didn't make a lot of sense. Okay. Maybe this is a non-example? Alright, the chemistry teacher delineated the procedures, which left most of the students confused on how so this is a non-example because it's not a well-explained, well-described, detailed thing if people are confused. The scientist delineated the task to her lab assistant by going over them twice and spending a lot of time to explain them. That sounds like a good delineation. That's an example. I'm going to press right. I was 100% right. So that's how you do one of these decks, and then you would click next steps. But you can also review your answers and flip through all the cards and see what was right and what was wrong, and I was right on all of them. You can also report cards if you think something is wrong. You can say, hey, something's wrong here. It's incorrect, offensive, bad grammar, something's wrong, or just never mind, it's okay. So whenever you get all done, you can hit next step and it moves you on to adding an example. Writing out a good example that uses it in context will be great, because if too many people call your example garbage or a non-example, then you won't get credit for it. So there's a little rundown of how you do the 3 steps. Happy Xamplin'!